central business district. I went to buy some bread for someone, and I went to the local large supermarket. It was all in the dark. It was really eerie to go there, and it sounded like survival mode. And I just heard from my colleague or my boss this morning to say she waited 1 hour and 45 minutes to actually buy something because there were so many people, and until she went through the checkout. So that's not something you expect in 2024.
No, not at all. So the shops are managing to stay open, but in a very strange kind of way.
Yeah, and not all of them. I drove around, and I have to be careful because I've got an electric car, so I need to minimize my traffic. I drove around a little bit, and I only found one yesterday, but I think there was another one open.
Well, Iris, I hope
for stations, of course.
Sorry, continue.
I just want to say the petrol stations were closed, and people had to drive to Campbell, which is roughly 80 kilometres away, to actually fill up their tank.
Wow, yeah. Well, I hope the situation improves for you soon. Iris Haynes, a Kalgoorlie resident, stay cool, and good on you for sharing the coolness around your community.
OK. Yeah, I hope it will get better soon.
Well, flood warnings are continuing across the top end of the Northern Territory, with a tropical low within the monsoon trough bringing heavy rains. An emergency situation has led to an estimated 100 residents being evacuated from the remote communities of Pigeonhole and Daguragu to Katherine and Darwin. Reporter James Elton has more from Katherine.
Here in Katherine, the river behind me is at about 10 metres at the moment, which sounds like a lot, but seasoned locals here say that's nothing to worry about. So much so, in fact, that speedboat tours have started running further up the river in Nitmaluk National Park. And they only happen when the river's at exactly the right height. We're at that height right now. And so people are in some ways enjoying the situation, despite the fact that there is a minor flood level warning here for Katherine River.
Nice to know there's always a bit of a silver lining. The Victoria River was the first Watch and Act level warning issued earlier in the week. Is there any update on that?
Yes, it's a bit of a mixed picture for the Victoria River catchment. As you mentioned in your introduction, the Indigenous communities of Pigeonhole and Daguragu have seen evacuations. In Pigeonhole, that's about 40 people who've been evacuated. An interesting situation there with Pigeonhole. That flooded last year, and even then there were concerns about why was it that public housing in particular was rebuilt on a floodplain. I'm sure those questions are probably going to come back around this time. And so those two communities have seen some evacuations, but in other areas it's a little bit more calm. The rivers are falling in some areas. I was speaking with someone who works at the famous Victoria River Downs cattle station and the Wickham River, which is a tributary of the Victoria River. They say that peaked yesterday and is really falling quite quickly now. So a mixed picture across the catchment, but certainly concerns remaining for some of those communities that are inundated.
No doubt that sense of relief to see river levels finally falling. But in terms of areas of concern, that seems to have shifted now to the Daly River. We've got a moderate flood warning in place there. Tell us about that.
Yes, well, once again with the Daly River, it takes a lot to impress people in the monsoon season here, in the wet season in the Northern Territory. I was speaking with a property owner yesterday who's right on the Daly River, and he said, "Oh, nothing to worry about, mate. It's, you know, the river there is at 13 metres now, nearly 13 metres. There's a minor flood warning, or moderate flood warning, I should say, for the Daly River Police Station. But at this stage, there's no significant damage or concern about properties being lost or anything like that. It's more that the access in and out of Daly River has been cut off. So people are at risk, certainly, of being isolated. And there's certainly the risk that that situation could worsen. But at the moment, there's concern and apprehension, but no